Hello and welcome to the Voices Less Said podcast show with Dr. PMak, a show where I bring in people that are doing extraordinary things in community, locally or internationally. Today, I'm speaking with Karen Foster Jorgensen, who is a nationally respected consultant, author, and speaker, known for a vibrant energy and deep commitment to helping early childhood leaders thrive. With a career spanning ownership of childcare centers, executive leadership of diverse nonprofits, and the creation of successful business development initiatives, Karen brings unmatched insight to the intersection of mission-driven care and sustainable business practice. Karen is also an author of It's More About Strategy Than Math, Childcare Business Financial Success, and this book is a go-to resource for providers looking to align finances with values. And also, Karen is a regular contributor to various publications. Karen is a champion of those who care for children, and so join me today as I speak with Karen on Voices Less Said show with Dr. PMak. So, Karen, as I was just saying earlier on, I really, really appreciate your joyful response to, sort of emails and communications. You and I serve and belong to a working group, the World Forum Foundation working group on joy and joy, creating joyful organizations. And before I even go further, I've already introduced you to my listeners. What led you to taking this stance of centering joy?
I think we make a choice. We can either be joyful or we can be grumpy. and and I guess there's some place in between as well. But I like to think about mindset, and a positive mindset does so much for us as people and our sense of happiness and joy, but also it spreads to everybody around us. And
Okay.
so much spreads from the leaders in organizations. And if they can model this, then hopefully it becomes part of the organization as well.
So are you naturally a joyful person? Do you have to dig deep to find that element of joy? I'm asking for a friend, right? Because many a time as leaders, we turn up joyful, etc., etc. How does it work for you?
Yes, I would say that I am naturally joyful.
Okay.
I think I like to point out that joy doesn't mean that you don't recognize that there's challenges. And it doesn't mean that you don't address them.
Okay.
It's just the way in which you look at it. And I think you try to help others look at it in the same way. So I believe I am naturally joyous. Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and you touched on something that I was about to bring in, right? Which is this notion of we live in a poly crisis, is what folks have defined it, right? So many tragedies and unfortunate things happening around the world. So many things happening with I'll think about our neighbors to the south in the US. Some things that are troubling. How would you advise people to find joy in situations where when one looks to the left or to the right, they don't find anything joyous or joyful? How would you advise, or even leaders, right, whether they're working in the childcare sector, or they're in academia, or they're entrepreneurs? How would you advise that they'll look for joy or find joy?
One little quote that I like to keep in mind is that negativity is just looking for a better outlet.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I mean, negativity is going to be all
Mm,
around us.
mm,
It always has been through time. It's nothing new. It seems
mm,
kind of intense right now,
mm,
but I think maybe it's just getting talked about a lot
mm,
right now too.
mhm,
And I think part of it is to sift through this stuff.
mhm.
We can't solve everything. At
Okay.
least one of us or a small group of us can't solve everything.
Yeah.
What to be widely aware, but to also figure out what can I change and what can I help with and what
Mm,
is somebody else going to have to do
mm,
that. And so
mm.
I think that's part of it to focus a bit so that on some of the things, the old Irish prayer about separating out what I can change
Yes,
and what
the
I
things that I
can't.
can do and things that I
And
can do. Yeah. Mm,
mhm. And I think that even though broad awareness is essential, I
Mm-hmm.
also think that focusing on what part can I play
Yeah.
and what can I help with, I think
Mm.
helps each person to sort of carve out what they can do and
Mm.
what's important.
Mm.
And some people, I think, have I don't know if we call it a gift or a burden, but to focus a little bit, not necessarily narrowly, but to take on things in a more narrow way.
Wow. 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 Thank you for that really wise response. And so, Karen, you described yourself as an innovation champion, a synthesizer of thoughts, and facilitator of fun, right? And I remember sitting in one of the workshops you facilitated, and it was quite interesting, looking at you wear your dollar hat and really just
Yeah.
facilitating in a very, very fun way. But that's quite a profound and unique sort of combination. So how do these three elements, innovation, synthesizing of thoughts, and facilitation of fun, how do they work together in your consultation approach when working with childcare directors and business owners?
I think that a lot of people do that, and that
Mm-hmm.
maybe it isn't as rare and unique as we think.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're looking at developing ideas,
Mm-hmm.
looking for common ground of what
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
bring together, and
Mm-hmm.
then how do we complete that in a way that is the most positive, brings the most positive outcomes, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Um, and if you look at those in a continuum, they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be in a continuum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we have ideas, we bring people in, and we
Mm-hmm.
think about where are people now, where's the
Yeah.
situation now, and what
Yeah.
can I next do about it.
Yeah.
So it starts to involve innovation, people, and action, and putting
Yeah.
them together.
Yeah.
Uh, to me, seems like a logical progression. Maybe
Yeah.
it doesn't for everyone, but for me it
Mm.
does,
Mm.
and it seems to work. And I am a person who will never run out of ideas. I have
Mm.
an endless source of ideas, uh,
Yeah.
which is also an endless source of joy for me because I love to create
Yeah.
and and write. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I try to just bring those ideas to our field and use them to solve problems and also use them to encourage others and think
Yeah.
about, hey, you can do this too.
Okay, Karen, in knowing you the past couple number of years, your approach, even in whether it's in consulting or working in larger groups, when you talk about joy, you talk about your background, your financial background, and you say, Patrick, like I want to bring the fun in finances, and I'm like, God, what's fun about finances? And so talk to us a little bit more about that.
Oh,
You do work, Karen, with both
yeah.
startup and established childcare businesses across here in Canada, in the US. What are the fundamental sort of differences and challenges that both startups or established organizations face, and how does your consulting approach help to adapt to each of those businesses?
There's a couple different questions in there. I'll try to sort
Mm.
them out. Uh,
Yeah.
I think I'll start with the last part that you
Mm.
asked, which was how to approach a startup
Yeah.
versus an established business.
Yeah.
One of the kind of scary things that I find sometimes is that when particularly community organizations or will see a need for childcare in their
Hmm.
community or
Hmm.
and say we need to start a childcare center.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very common for those, and usually they're new boards of directors who don't have a lot of experience in the field.
Hmm. Hmm.
They will hire a director to start an organization who has not been a director before.
Mm.
Very scary part because it, startup really requires the greatest amount of skill, I think,
Yeah.
because you're having to do everything at once. You're
Yeah.
creating everything,
Yeah.
uh, where coming into an organization that's already established, if it's in a reasonable condition,
Yeah.
you have a little time to breathe.
Hmm.
We can sometimes you can fix one thing at a time. You're
Yeah.
not starting everything from scratch.
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
very creative to
Yeah.
start from scratch. I as a business owner started
Mm.
several childcare centers from scratch, but I already had business experience and
Okay.
organizational experience when I
Yeah.
when I came. So I was in a different place, and I could be a bit more joyous about it, I think,
Okay.
than some people can. Um, you also asked me how I bring in joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was
Yep.
that
Yep. Yep. Yeah, because I mean, it's
um,
stressful, right, for
and finance.
entrepreneurs. Yeah, and finance, right? So it's stressful for entrepreneurs, for business people to be
Yeah,
managing their
it
finances
is.
and also trying to get, the program going, right? So where's the fun in that? How do
Hmm.
you bring that fun? How do you bring the joy as the facilitator of fun throughout that process?
Well, certainly not every moment of finance is joyful. However,
Yeah.
it can't be. I'd be
Yeah.
naive to think that. But however, I like to think of what is the purpose of finance?
Mm,
Why, I sometimes feel like I have to justify why do I get so involved in early childhood finance?
hmm hmm
Uh, the reason is because I firmly believe that that is the foundation on which we build quality.
Okay.
I have a question in some of the training I do, and I say, well, you only need money for
hmm
staffing,
hmm
facilities.
hmm
You can see
Yeah.
the line of thinking there.
Yeah.
Everything we do needs some kind of financial foundation to make it work.
Yeah.
And so I like to think of money as kind of is the fuel that lets us go forward with our mission.
Yeah.
Uh, our mission is joyful. Most, sometimes, as you know, and you do too, and most of our friends in this field do,
Yeah.
need to get back and look at that. Why
hmm
do we do the work?
hmm
And when we think about why we do the work, we can think more about here's the purpose to
hmm
get involved highly in finance
hmm
and make it work well, because
hmm
that's the only way we can be successful. The only way we can help children and families and staff
hmm
is to have that strong foundation. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of strategies, obviously, in
Yeah.
making that happen.
Yeah.
But to take a mindset that says, hey, this is an important part of the work, and I can
Yeah.
make it work.
Yeah. So you talk about that mission, right? Why are we doing the work and why is the work important to us?
Yeah,
I think it was in 2020 or
yeah.
2021 when I listened to your podcast or your webinar
Hmm.
on aligning your program's mission and financial model. Um,
Hmm.
So can you perhaps even walk through the why? Like just my listeners perhaps would be curious to know, hey, why do so many early
Yeah,
childhood programs struggle with this alignment, right? Alignment between the mission and doing the good work,
yeah,
and then the financial modeling bit, right? And so I don't just see this challenge here
yeah.
in North America. I see it in the global South, right? In programs that are trying to adapt, in programs that are trying to do some good work, which is work with young children, ensure that the outcomes and various measurements are met, but then are struggling financially, right? And so how if you can walk with us perhaps, or if you have your framework, what's your framework for getting mission and finances to work together, if I would put that question simply?
Sure. As as we know who are in the field,
Yeah.
people tend to come into leadership
Mm-hmm.
in early childhood organizations from being good teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They were great teachers. I have a favorite article I like to put in trainings
Mm-hmm.
that says, "I was such a great teacher. What happened?"
Mm-hmm.
And they jump into leadership roles with caring a lot,
Mm-hmm.
being good with children, good with parents generally, and a lot
Yeah.
of those kind of skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are important transferring over to
Yeah.
leadership,
Yeah.
but they're very different.
Yeah.
And we talk about both leadership and management,
Yeah.
and they serve different purposes and have different skills.
Yeah.
And I think probably leadership actually comes a little bit more naturally
Yeah.
to teachers than does some
Yeah.
areas of management.
Yeah.
Managing money, time, information
Yeah.
can be a real big challenge.
Yeah.
And so, in order to bring those two things together,
Yeah.
uh, and I find that finance is for many directors as they're emerging into those roles, or
Mm,
even who have been in them for quite some period
mm,
of time.
mm.
Finance is probably the hardest thing for people to feel confident in,
Yep. Yep.
because they're continuing. I like to talk about competence and confidence,
Yeah.
and competence builds confidence
Yeah.
as people go along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so to help people, knowing finance on a general level gives us one kind of set of information.
Yeah.
Knowing finance specifically for the child care field is pretty specific.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, do we, and I don't mean to get too far in the weeds here, but it
Mhm.
really matters for the early childhood field. Do we know how many child care spaces we have to
Yeah.
offer?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many of them are full today?
Mhm.
at what tuition rate,
Yeah.
and figuring out, what is our potential, what do we have today, and then what does it cost us to deliver that.
Yeah.
And until we really know that, we're going to be flying pretty blind in
Yeah.
finance.
Yeah.
So, those are just really the kinds of things that people have to dig in and learn when they
Hmm.
come into the field, because it's not something you learn anyplace else.
No, it's
I
not.
have I've had many directors who say, "Well, I'm going to go out and take an accounting class." And it's great that they do,
Yeah.
because that's good knowledge too.
Yeah.
But they said, "But I didn't learn how to do it in early childhood." It's
Yeah.
like,
True.
yes, we have to learn it here. What are the very specifics? I was working with an organization yesterday.
Mm.
Uh, Virtually, they're out in another part of Canada,
Mm.
uh, and they have an absolutely beautiful budget
Mm.
written for the upcoming year, but
Yeah.
it doesn't yet say how many slots, how many staff in this room at how many hours. So,
Mm. Mm.
those are just those technical parts
Yeah. Yeah.
that are unique to every field. Every field and type of organization has a lot of commonality
Yeah.
about their finances. But I
That's
think each industry has some really specific things as well.
yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Thanks, Karen. So that's very, very interesting. And so, with having the mission alignment and program alignment comes the issue of wages and salaries, right? And so, what are the most effective approaches, perhaps, that you have seen for childcare directors who want to pay their staff what they deserve without compromising their program viability? Are there ways, are there models that you have seen that have been successful?
There's for sure models. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's a couple of really quick tips that I might offer first.
Okay. Yep.
One is to focus on revenue.
Okay.
Uh, we always think, okay, I'm going to focus on my staff wages first, and those are vital.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't have the revenue, we can't do it.
Yeah.
And throughout my entire career, I've sort of had a motto that works for me, to say that I scrap to have every slot paid for every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds simple,
Yeah.
but whatever our capacity is for
Mm-hmm.
revenue,
Mm-hmm.
if we are meeting that,
Yeah.
is obviously the most likely way for us to have the revenue that we need.
Sure. Yeah.
And in our field, empty childcare slots, it's like hotels having empty nights.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody on the pillow, they
Yeah.
never get it back.
Yeah.
Same in our field, of course.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I look at, what would it take? We did an interesting study once. What would it
Mm-hmm.
take to put this to a spreadsheet easily? What would it take to raise all of our wages $2 an hour? What would it
Okay.
take to raise them all $3, $4, $5 an hour?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when you start to look at that, it's not as scary as you think.
Okay.
What would it take?
Yeah.
And we say, okay, how much more revenue would we need to create? And that's part of
Mm-hmm.
a business model, of course.
Mm-hmm.
How much revenue would we need to create?
Mm-hmm.
How much can we get from tuition?
Yeah.
How much can we get through other kinds of fundraising? How
Okay.
much can we get by doing some cost saving in some
Yeah.
places
Yeah.
if we need to?
Yeah.
Not necessarily with staff, but just being expeditious with
Mm-hmm.
our
Mm-hmm.
spending and how we
Mm-hmm.
go about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I say everybody has a business model. Just
Yep.
make yours intentional,
Yep.
because
Yep.
everybody has one.
Yep.
And so, having the information, and it's not hard and scary to find this information
Yeah.
for your own business.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of sitting down logically and saying, here's our potential.
Yeah.
We have 58
Yeah.
slots, and here's what we can charge
Yeah.
for them,
Yeah.
and going through and finding out.
Yeah.
I think that low wages have never resulted in quality.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we really have to bite the bullet sometimes and say, what
Mm.
would it take?
Mm.
Uh, and to not be afraid of offering a quality product and
Mm.
not apologizing for
Mm.
quality.
Mm.
Um, our business isn't quite as diversified in range of prices as some other things. Like you
Mm.
can buy a car for this much, and you can buy a
Mm.
car for this much,
Mm. Mm.
and they all drive you from here to there, but they have a
Mm.
lot of differences.
Yeah.
It's not such a broad differentiation really in childcare, but it is
Okay.
there
Yeah.
in our field. But to say, you know, here's what we offer. Here are the
Mm.
benefits of what we do.
Mm.
This comes out of marketing, of course.
Yeah.
Know your customer.
Yeah.
What do people value the most?
Yeah.
And what things can we put in?
Yeah.
When people ask parents and families and staff, what do
Yeah.
you value the most? They're able to prioritize in those areas, and maybe if they can't prioritize in every single
Sure.
area.
Sure.
I ask my staff. I used to ask when I owned childcare centers and was a director. I asked the staff regularly.
Mm.
I would have a list of maybe 25 possible things we could do.
Mm.
Uh, which of these would you value the most?
Okay.
And then I would go down to just money and benefits
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, uh, I don't. This isn't an excuse for low wages, but
Yeah.
it is also a reality in our
Yeah.
business and a lot of businesses that
Yeah.
people value some additional things besides just money.
True.
Uh,
True. True.
Money needs to be at a certain level, but
Yeah.
also valuing
Yeah.
uh, appreciation, time
Yeah.
off, all the kinds of things that people want in an
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah.
But I think, we just, and wages have risen. We've seen
Mhm.
them rise 50% since
True.
the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Uh, it's doable for some people, and it's a real struggle
It's
for
a real
others.
struggle for others.
We're certainly seeing people now go through. I wrote an article for Exchange Magazine in
Hmm.
2022, maybe the beginning of 23,
Hmm.
uh, called Life After ARPA.
Uh,
Basically, what's going to happen when the federal funds in the United States and Canada, the rescue funds, disappear.
disappear.
And they
Yeah.
did. In
Yeah.
September of 2023,
Yeah.
they ended.
It funds ended.
And what are the business strategies? And they're good business strategies for
Yeah.
any time. But what are we going to have to do?
Yeah.
Because people had this big, huge, and a lot of people raised their wages, which was
Mm.
good.
Mm.
And some people did another wise
Yeah.
thing of
So,
doing some bonuses or temporary things, so they
yeah.
weren't locked into that forever.
Yeah.
Because
So let me pause you there,
I think,
Karen. If you don't
yeah.
mind, let me pause you there because you bring in, and one of the things that I know you do a lot of, and that you've told me that you love doing is writing articles and writing books. You're also a published author. You
Yeah.
also wrote another article recently, I think, where you describe sustainability as having three layers, right? Because I'm thinking about, okay, the government funds ended, right? The federal funds ended in 2023, and then my mind goes to sustainability. How did these organizations then have a plan for sustainability? And so you write in your article, and you describe sustainability as having three layers, right? The head, the heart, and humor. Walk us through that.
Hmm. Okay. And I don't know which of those needs to come first
Yeah.
either. I haven't determined that yet. But
Yeah.
the way I worded them too was head, heart, and humor. So
Uh-huh.
we'll start that
Uh-huh.
way.
Uh-huh.
And head, tended to be the logical side,
Yeah.
the finance side, the factual things that we
Hmm.
all know that we have to have when we think about business
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
Uh, Heart clearly becomes mission. And
Hmm.
how do we, what is our mission? How do we bring other people into our mission and help them live
Okay.
that with us as well?
Okay.
And then humor. There's so many wonderful things that we can do to infuse a feeling in people that they want to be part of this
Okay.
mission and part of
Yeah.
making something happen.
Yeah.
And when we talk about joyful and joyous organizations,
Yeah.
it's in my in my joy. You're probably going to ask me about this later, but
Yeah.
but in my framework for the joyful organization,
Yeah.
I have 7 elements,
Hmm.
and uh, they go way beyond you know balloons and cookies on Friday afternoon. They're
Yeah.
they,
Mhm.
which are great things, but
Agreed.
they become infused as part of here's how we do things in our organization,
Okay.
from finance to
Yeah.
uh, staffing to
Hmm.
and there's several that I include in there that I think are absolutely essential for a well-rounded organization,
Yeah.
includes the child-centered
Yeah.
learning and the learning environments, so that
Yeah.
so we look at a total picture of 7 key elements, and those elements would take in the the head and the
Yeah.
heart and the humor. But I think we can diffuse so many things. It's true with children and with adults.
Yeah.
We can diffuse so many situations
True.
when we use humor at the appropriate time, or at least lighten the mood a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes we take ourselves very seriously, I think.
I
And
think we do. And your approach to leadership is always inspiring to me too, right? In terms of just bringing joy, and like you rightfully say, that we can use humor to diffuse, some tense moments or to make light of some potentially difficult situations. And so, with that, Karen, something that you've continued to express in our different meetings, whether bilateral meetings or even in group meetings, is your belief in joy and sustainability. And so, why do you believe that joy and sustainability belong in the same sentence, particularly in leadership?
one of the reasons I probably liked the idea first is because it wasn't something that other people believed could happen.
Mm. Yep.
I,
Yep. Yep.
I like to put some thoughts out there that where other people will say, "Huh?
Yeah.
Ah, nah,
Yeah.
Karen, you're
Yeah.
in left field.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be."
Yep.
And so we talk about joy in organization or joy in finance,
Yep.
uh, and I really continue to take it back to the fact that there is joy in what we do.
Mm-hmm.
This is our work.
Okay.
There's joy in the work that we do. Probably more than almost any field I can think of, and that's probably why you and I and a lot of us have persist in this field
Yes.
most of our careers
Yes.
because of the opportunity we have
Mm.
to
Mm.
make a difference, to
Mm.
serve children, to serve families, and to serve our staff, and to create an
Mm.
opportunities for them as
Mm.
well, so they
Mm.
can bring joy into
Mm.
it.
Mm.
Uh, and because I like to think of myself as kind of an original thinker,
Yeah.
and that's probably why I stick those together.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think a couple of questions ago you referred to a book I've written
Yes.
about early childhood finance,
Yes.
which I entitle "It's More About Strategy Than Math,"
Yeah.
because and then early childhood business financial success.
Mm-hmm.
People told me I heard this many times in training sessions I would be giving. Well, I'm not good at finance because I never liked math and I was never good
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
And I heard that enough times, and spontaneously one day I said, really, it's not all about math. It's about strategy.
Mm.
And oh, that resonated with people, and I started saying that, and then I realized, okay, there's a book title there.
Yeah.
And the point being that we don't have to be accountants. We don't have to do those things. We need to understand the strategy of running our business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when people start to feel that success, that I
Yeah.
actually can do this,
Yeah.
then the joy starts to seep in.
Yeah.
One of the nicest compliments, Patrick, I think I've ever had, and it came from you about
Mm.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
I'll embarrass you now.
Oh my
You
gosh.
said, Karen,
Yeah.
you know it's coming. You
Yeah.
said, when you teach people about finance,
Yeah.
you help them believe that they can actually do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was so important to me. And thank you for
Yeah.
saying that.
Oh. Yeah.
Because, if we carried out finance and business as something that, oh, only us gurus can do,
Mm. Mm.
it doesn't help,
Yeah.
because it leaves people believing that, oh, I can never do that.
Yeah.
And and so I think probably so much of the writing and training and working with people that I do
Yeah.
is to help them
Yeah.
get the skills
Yeah.
and then to believe they can do it. And I
Yeah.
think if we uh, show them the steps along the way,
Yeah.
so that people can break it down into usable, workable chunks and
Yeah.
say, "Oh my gosh, I can do that."
Yeah.
And I think that's when I feel like I'm making a contribution,
That's good.
when others have learned how to do this.
That's good.
Yeah, I can do it, but
Yeah.
that's not the point.
Yeah.
I'm only one person,
Yeah.
and there's hundreds of thousands of early childhood organizations out there. I hope
True.
to get to all of them eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
but just the point being that when we help others learn how to do these things,
Yeah.
that's when I feel like we've succeeded.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I know, our time is coming up fast, but I've got, a couple of more questions.
Okay.
The one that I have is, you speak about, sort of strategy, right? A lot. What
Yeah.
And strategy with joy. So what mindset shift has made the biggest difference in your own ability to lead with both strategy and joy?
Early in my career,
Mm.
I don't think that I was a fabulous listener.
Okay.
I
Mm.
had I had a lot of ideas. I wanted to get things done. I wanted to
Mm.
start things,
Mm.
and drag everybody along with me.
Mm.
And as I got a little more experience and a little more maturity, I
Mm.
realized, a lot of people have good ideas besides me.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to develop a different way of doing things when you have
Okay.
that realization
Yeah.
of what are the ideas of others.
Okay.
They always say no one argues with their own data or
Sure.
their own idea.
Yeah.
And so, you know, how do we give other people the
Yeah.
opportunity to thrive in the way we like to,
Okay.
and and develop other leaders around us?
Yep.
And I think that's sort of the shift that, and you don't get it overnight.
Yeah.
I think it's, there's sort of no substitute for experience in some of these things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got into the management field very young,
Okay.
and enjoyed it. Had some great mentors.
Yeah.
Had success, if I do
Yeah.
say so myself,
Yeah.
and and found that I loved it.
Yeah.
Uh, but I know that I mean, we continue to learn every day.
Yeah.
I absolutely, if we weren't, we might as well, go sit on the beach and not involve ourselves in this industry.
Yeah.
uh, because I just feel like that, for me, it was just paying attention to
Yeah.
what works well,
Mm.
listening to the people around me,
Mm.
and saying, how can I focus, easing the focus away from me and the
Mm.
focus onto them.
Mm.
And that what's my role and goal is to help them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's made the difference for me, I think, as I approach the kind of work that I do.
Those are very, very informative and interesting bits of wisdom, and thank you for sharing that. And I don't normally go, so my turn to put you on the spot. I don't normally let my guests leave before answering one particular question. And you've had a
Okay.
long and varied career within the finance, leadership, business. You've been entrepreneur for the longest of times. You've run so many successful businesses, many of which you've sold off just to begin to concentrate on finance and empowering current and future leaders around working in within the early childhood space. And so if you were to have, and so perhaps you look back or you look ahead, if you were to have dinner with any three people, living or dead,
Mm.
who would they be and why?
Oh, interesting thought.
Mm.
I'd probably invite Einstein.
Uh-huh. Oh, interesting.
Yes. I would probably invite some great writer of music or
Mhm.
musical theater.
Mhm. So why
And
Einstein?
honestly,
What?
because of being said, having such an incredible mind,
Okay.
and being able to move forward in areas that other people didn't think were possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, Musical theater
Yeah.
an incredible joy for me.
Yeah.
I have a son who's in musical theater,
Okay.
uh, and it's just such an important part of our life. And
Yeah.
I could go and watch it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love to bring the people there.
Yeah.
And I don't say this lightly, Patrick, but
Yeah.
I probably would invite you.
Oh. Oh my, oh my,
I
oh my. Are you just trying to get yourself
I
out of this question, Karen? Wow.
I would, and I could embarrass you and tell you about the times that I share with people that I know about the kinds of things that you are doing and the ways in which you bring people together.
Oh,
And I don't say this to embarrass you or
yeah.
maybe to flatter you, but
Oh,
but it's honest.
yeah.
It's really honest. And I think that, you know, we have opportunities to know people across the
Mm,
globe
mm,
because the world is different now.
yeah.
And years ago, that wouldn't have been possible.
No, it would
And
not.
I think, we just, it opens eyes and doors
Yeah.
for all of us.
Yeah.
And to be able to, I think about some people that I consider some of my best friends now, and they're all over the continent
Yeah.
or the world, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known these people
Oh,
before. And
yeah.
so I think, the joy, get back to joy,
Yeah.
the joy of being able to learn from so many different people is so beautiful. So,
Oh,
I hope we can all continue to go off and keep spreading this around.
yep.
That's part our quest at this point.
That's our quest. Karen, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast Voices Listed with Dr. PMak. I really appreciate you, my friend. I really appreciate your mentorship, your leadership, and the joy that you bring to whatever setting we find ourselves in, whether it's through the World Forum or through bilateral conversations. I really appreciate your leadership and what you bring to the world. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a joy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Voices Listed podcast with Dr. PMak. I hope you enjoyed insights that came out of this conversation. Keep your notifications on. Our next episode will be dropping soon. Thank you and enjoy.